Welcome to my Big Break Almost podcast. I have one important question. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a billionaire?
Who hasn't?
Could you imagine all the things you would do
I
and
have
buy?
dreams, so many dreams. I still dream. I'm just waiting for you to hurry up.
I'm only about $1 billion behind, but our next guest is not.
You don't even have a cent.
So I'm about $1 billion behind. Calvin Ayre, who came up with Bodog, the entertainment mega website.
Mhm.
He was on Forbes billionaires list. Can you imagine being on that?
Yeah, again, I can imagine all of that. I just don't know where to start.
Lots of dreams. And we are going to start with Calvin and lots of question and answers coming up right after this. So what is Panama like?
Well, Panama's great. I mean, I've lived in Costa Rica for 8 years. I used to come down here a lot, and I really like Panama, and I've got friends here from my years when I used to live in Central America. The country was created by the U.S., so it's got very modern medical facilities, and they use the U.S. dollar here as a currency. Yeah, it's quite orderly. So I thought if I was going to be stuck someplace, I came over here. So yeah, here I am waiting for this pandemic to pass.
That's smart thinking.
One other reason why I came here is because you know about the shortage of PPE, personal protective equipment. It's kind of a global problem right now with the pandemic. Some friends of mine had a trading company out of Hong Kong, but they're from Panama here. And through that, I'm working on trying to get a bunch of supplies for the hospitals back in Antigua, where I actually do live. So I'm actually working a little bit to help the government while I'm here as well, the government back in Antigua where I live.
How nice.
That's really sweet of you. That's great.
That
we
is
need
wonderful.
more people. Yeah, we need more people like you.
Definitely. We are talking with businessman extraordinaire, entrepreneur, just about everything it seems like that you've done in the business world, Calvin Ayre. Thank you for being on our show, Calvin.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I'm going to start off with what was near and dear to my heart first, and that's Bodog. I was a huge fan of Bodog, participated. I even auditioned for the reality show they were going to have and sent in my tape before things changed. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with Bodog and built that to such an empire?
The name was created by me by just putting letters together. I had a list of different criteria that I needed for a name for an online entertainment company, which was what my plan was at the time. And I just put combinations of letters together to try and get as many of these criteria into one name as I could. As an example, I wanted something that was 6 letters or less. I needed, of course, to get the root domain and the .com and others around it. I wanted it to be very easy to, hard to forget, I mean, if you visualize it. And with Bodog, with the way we did the logo, it's 5 circles, making it very, very hard to forget. I wanted it to be easy to remember for radio commercials. And so with Bodog, it's got a nice cadence to it when you spell it out, B-O-D-O-G, for internet ad. And I wanted it to kind of be a little bit edgy and sort of seem fun, but not boring. So I created the name, and then I sent it out without telling anybody what it was. I just said, hey, what does this mean to you? And I got a bunch of, I did my own little survey with this word. And most people thought it had something to do with sex. And other true. People said it was, it sounds like a clothing line and stuff like that. But I got sort of canvassed a lot of people. And I sort of looked at what I had, and I said, well, yeah, I think I can make this one work. So that's where the name came from.
Boy, did you make that one work. How did you develop that into the empire, I'll call it, that it became?
A lot of work, basically. And I mean, to make a company, you have to use your own time when you're starting companies. You have to use your time as a substitute for capital, because most startups are always short of funds. So you have to kind of do a lot of stuff yourself, and you have to be right most of the time. If you make mistakes, you get wiped out when you're a startup with not much capital. So It just was a lot of work, and you have to make sure you don't make big mistakes, and then hopefully over time you can make it work. But a lot of people think that the success of Bodog was marketing, but I do think we did a good job on marketing. But yeah, if you are selling something, it has to be something that actually works first. So the operations had to be good as well. So yeah, I just think it was just a lot of work. But what I tell people though is it doesn't seem like work if you're doing something you liked, and I loved it at the time, so I didn't mind putting the effort in.
Now, were you a billionaire before Bodog, or how much money did you have to start out Bodog?
I actually started Bodog. I had $10,000 in the bank when I started Bodog. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so very early on.
Yeah, I was born on a pig farm in Saskatchewan in central Canada, so we didn't come from means, my family. Yeah, I think I was the first person in my family to go to university, actually. So.
Wow.
That's incredible. So
they're proud.
Yes. So pig farmer child turned self-created billionaire, because we've seen the Forbes list. Now, not everything is about money, but there's not many people who can say they ever cracked the Forbes list of a billionaire. Mm-hmm. Was that the time when you thought, okay, I've made it, or was it way before then? Or have you not in your mind convinced yourself you've made it yet?
It was before then. I said, well, you have to put it into context, I guess, that when I started what became Bodog, my plan was to this is great. I'm going to have a sports betting company. I'll have the software development in Vancouver, Canada, and I'll have the operations down in Costa Rica. Well, actually, I started in St. Kitts first, and then moved to Costa Rica. I thought, this is great. I'll spend my winters down there and my summers in Vancouver. And when the dust all settles, if I can put $1 million together, I'll consider that a pretty good life. So my goals were, as a young person with not much money, my goals were relatively modest. So it was a long time before I was in Forbes that I decided that this had gone way beyond my expectations, and I sort of felt like, oh yeah, it's time to smoke cigars or something. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, just from coming from a pig farm, now in between that time when you started actually making money, were friends and family that you've never talked to just kind of coming out of the wazoo saying, hey, I missed you, can I borrow some money? That's kind of what I feel like is kind of it's going to be hard to deal with, is friends and family.
Yeah, I didn't really experience much of that. I personally think my family's still shocked that I don't think it's sunk in yet.
They're still waiting for you to make it someday, huh?
Yeah. Well, actually, there was some talk about me never making it in life because I went to university for quite a lot. By most people's opinions in my family, there was some talk about me being some kind of a perpetual student. So yeah, I think they are still surprised that I actually managed to make something of myself when I got out of school.
That's great. I like to look back on somebody's career, even though it's still evolving, and maybe take a look back and think, okay, if I had one biggest regret, it was this, financial or business wise, and one biggest success, I'm so glad I did this. Do you look back and think of the highs and the lows that if you had it to do differently or the same, you would?
I don't really have a big, I really wish I wouldn't have done that moment. I mean, everything that was at the time seemed so bad. I've always managed to make it into something good. I'm kind of seem to have a skill for taking disasters and finding a way to make it to actually work into something positive. But I can tell you one thing I definitely am happy that I did is when I started my online gaming company, because I canvassed everybody I knew and told them what I was going to do, and then asked them what they thought. And 100% everybody I knew told me that was ridiculous. And I decided that I'd do it anyways. What I actually did one morning in my place, I was living in Vancouver at the time, is I stood in front of a mirror and looked myself in the eye, and I asked myself a fundamental question. I said, because I was convinced that it was a good idea. What I asked myself was, on my deathbed, would I rather be looking back at myself and rather have tried this and failed, or been too scared to try it? And of course I said, well, I'd rather fail than be too scared to try it, because I was convinced I was right.
That's a great question.
I just thought I would be tormenting myself for the rest of my life not having done it, always thinking I know I could have done it, but I was a chicken, you know. Yeah, so I just went for it, and it worked.
Boy, did it ever. What was life like in the heyday? We had a little conversation thinking, okay, if we had a big company and celebrities around, how much traveling would we do, or what would we purchase, or what would that lifestyle be like? What was it like being Calvin Ayre during the heyday?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to do it over again. That's how much fun.
I've seen a couple of YouTube videos, and it looked like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
A lot of parties.
What made it so fun, the fact that partying, because it was an entertainment brand, partying was actually part of the brand. So I guess unlike in most industries, if you have too many parties, people start to think you're kind of like, not paying attention or something. But here it was like, okay, the bigger the better. So it was really a lot of fun. Yeah.
How'd you invite the people to your parties, as far as who were those people? Were they people of the company or people that you were just trying to impress? What?
It was different parties had different agendas. You have to think of a party actually as being part of the business branding and marketing strategy that we had. So we would come up with a concept, and usually it was to solve a problem. It's like, who do we want to influence somehow to get them more educated on our brand or something like that. So some of the events we did would be try to get more influence over people in the industry. So we've had our own conference series at one time, but we used to also sponsor parties at the industry events, and we took them. We were really good at organizing parties, so we took them to another level, and that was really good for our brand inside the industry. And then we wanted to take that whole concept sort of retail, and we started doing all these celebrity events. And when we first started it, we were kind of didn't really know what we were doing, but eventually we had agents working for us, and it got quite sort of corporate, the whole party thing. So and towards the end, originally I'd be quite involved in it. I'd be standing out front of them shaking hands when people were coming, sometimes surprised anybody showed up, honestly, in the early. But by the end, I would just show up and do my little piece, and I was barely involved in anything by the end. Well, I got to enjoy the party, though, let's be honest.
Boy,
that's important.
That is huge.
Now, I saw some clips of a place you had in Costa Rica, which was gorgeous. And then I saw a story that it may have been taken over at one point by squatters. I didn't know what that was like, or if that wasn't true.
No, that was my friend, Chris Costigan of Gambling 911. He used to always publish all this crazy stuff about me. We had a running joke. That was just a joke. He published a joke up on the internet, yeah. It was never taken over by squatters. It was raided by police once when I was doing my poker show with Fox. They thought I was running illegal poker games in there because they were reading my promotions and stuff. So I had like 2 busloads of police raid my place, and there was nothing going on at all because what they read was a promotional piece. It wasn't literally describing what we were doing there. So anyways, but that's the only sort of big sort of international scene that was ever there. Yeah. No
police raid is fine. We just don't want squatters.
Yeah.
That's so good. So if I was, a billionaire, I would probably make some really weird purchase like a time machine replica or something. Did you have some kind of just splurge that you said, this was my purchase I would only buy if I was a billionaire?
I haven't done that yet, actually, and I'm kind of wrestling with it. And my splurge was going to be to buy a jet. I almost bought one, and then I dumped all the money that was going to go to the jet into my second career in the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin space, actually. One of the reasons I didn't do it is also from the whole environmental aspect of it. Flying in private jets is looked down upon by a lot of people now as being kind of excessive from an environmental perspective. But the one thing that I do that is kind of in that direction is I'm into houses, really into houses. But I don't buy them, I build them. I design and build all my own houses. And I'm building phase 2 of my house in Antigua right now, which is a 35-acre estate. I'm also finishing off, this pandemic allowing, I'm finishing off my penthouse in Bangkok, which is being designed. It's a combination of myself and an American architect and artist named Bill Bensley, who's actually stationed in Bangkok. And I just finished another one in Canada on a lake, on a ranch. So I design and build houses. It's sort of my thing.
Can you count on one hand how many houses you have?
Cannot. I feel a little bit guilty about that because they don't get used as much as they should. But
Airbnb
I'm not
them?
a car person. Like some people buy cars. I actually don't have many cars. I don't drive. I'm kind of not that into it. But I really am into building and designing houses, and it really is fun when you finally get one done and all that stuff that you had in your head. Well, there it is, and you can kind of use it. But I work with professionals. I don't do like draw the architectural drawings or something. I focus on what I call functional design, like how it works and what you see.
Yeah, I get that. We all need function in a house, for sure.
So, how many houses have you built so far or designed?
The one you were talking about in Costa Rica was one of my first ones. I've done 2 penthouses in Vancouver, the ranch house that I just told you about, Bangkok, a villa on volcano called Taal volcano in the Philippines, and of course the big one in Antigua, which is 2 phases. Yeah, so
Do you have pigs?
Yeah.
I might have missed something in there, but I think those are the most of them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
She asked if you had pigs.
On the one in Antigua.
Anymore. I do not anymore.
Aw, that's so sad.
We may have to get you a pet
Yeah.
pig.
I do
Petunia.
have dogs, though. Antigua.
Wow. So you mentioned Bitcoin, and this is your next venture. Can you talk to me like I'm 5? Because you're going to need to when it comes to Bitcoin. It's very intriguing, but I still don't really know how that works.
I don't understand it at all.
And you are not the only one. And in fact, most of the people in what they call the crypto industry don't understand Bitcoin either. And that's why they're not in Bitcoin. They're over in what they call crypto. Bitcoin was invented by my friend Craig Wright. He's an Australian. And it was originally invented, he launched it under this stage name of Satoshi Nakamoto. But the technology was originally designed to do microtransactions and be an immutable ledger of data. So you can store stuff on it and it never changes. And so you can, if you make a mistake in something you store there, you can update it, but there's an auditable record trail of what happened. And of course, it can also be used to monetize data itself. And that function, the digital money portion, is what these crypto people have run with and sort of think that they're creating an industry around. But that's missing the entire point of what the technology was originally invented for. So what I've done is I'm working with Craig and myself and others, but I'm a big part of it. And we're bringing the original design back that had been abused by people that after he'd let it go in the wild. And it's now trading on the exchanges as BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. And it's the only one in the world that scales massively, has utility, and does all the things. It's the original design that he launched in 2009. And I've got a conference series called CoinGeek, and I've got a website called CoinGeek as well. I've got a mining company also branded CoinGeek, and we've got a venture arm. So we invest in industry, building applications on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. And I recently bought an interest in Enchain, which is Craig's patent portfolio that he's busy creating over there. And I'm also investing in a public company called Taal, and that's doing infrastructure for Bitcoin. And these are all different pieces in the ecosystem. So what I'm doing is even more so than what I did in the Bodog days is I'm actually being an integral part of creating an entirely new industry. And I sort of got a taste for that with Bodog, but of course there's a lot of other people involved in that as well. But I sort of felt like, because I was in so early, that I was creating the industry as I went along with some of the other companies. But in this project, it's even more, I'm even more directly involved in actually the core creation of an entire industry. And this industry is not crypto, it's Bitcoin. And it's based on microtransactions doing commerce on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, public blockchain. And that's completely different than what these other people are doing, where they're trading tokens and speculating on tokens and all that. That's a different thing. So I think you'll see a lot of examples of this coming forward, because one of the things that's being built right now is a application on top of BSV by a large pharmacy in the United States that's going to be used for tracking opioid prescriptions to try and get control of the opioid problem in the United States. So this is the type of stuff that can be done with this technology. That's got that and well, you said it when you introduced the subject. Nobody understands this yet, and one of the things I'm trying to do is educate people on the real functional applications of this technology that solves real world problems.
How did you get educated in it? Because, you know, to try and grasp all that is almost kind of just, you know, over my head.
I was educated by Craig himself, the inventor. I met him in 2015. I was introduced by my friend Stefan, and we became friends. And Craig, over the years, has educated me, and I'm just a believer of his vision of what this technology can do. And so I've thrown my shoulder to the cart. Now I'm having a lot of fun.
How long are you going to probably go through this venture? How long until you actually see, I guess, the impact it's going to do?
I think I'll probably, within 2 or 3 years, I'll be pulling back because the industry will be able to take on a life of its own. And unlike in the early days of Bodog, I was actually the CEO. I'm not actually the CEO of anything right now. I'm more an advisor and an investor. I don't want to be directly in the executive command structure anymore. It's a lot of work. So I think within a couple of years, I'll be able to pull back a little bit. But I have another passion. I'm actually also on the side getting quite involved in technologies related to wellness and, you know, basically feeling good.
Wow. Okay. So can you explain that a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, wellness is applying science to how our body works so that you can make yourself feel better, basically. So I like, you can test your blood as an example, and you can find out what your body needs, and so you can take supplements, customize it. Instead of like what most people do, they're just like, okay, I need vitamin C, or I need vitamins, so they'll go to the vitamin store and they'll buy vitamins. Well, if you want to do wellness properly, wellness is it's all personalized to your body. So you have to test all your blood and look at all your indicators. You have to test your genome of all your genetics, what kind of genes you got, and then you customize your program based on what your body really needs. And everybody's different. So any supplements that you take should be based on what your body needs, not just what they're selling you at the vitamin store. And it's even more complex than that, because even the foods you eat should be custom to your body. Because you can be something that doesn't like you and it's making you feel bad, and you don't even know it. A lot of people are like that.
So are you already having a program out for this for people, or is this still in the early research stages?
It reminds me of Elizabeth Holmes, almost like he's taking what Elizabeth Holmes
and actually doing. Succeeding with it. Yes.
A whole little team of people that work on this, designing this stuff for me right now. So I'm kind of like experimenting with things on myself right now. But the idea is to create a business out of it at some point, possibly a wellness and like a next generation wellness retreat kind of business with a wellness community in Antigua. So I'm kind of looking at that, but I'm not sure yet exactly how this is going to fold. But in the meantime, I'm having a lot of fun, you know, experimenting on myself.
Wow. Are you, do you have a certain kind of diet that you have regimen-wise?
Yes. I eat what's basically a Mediterranean diet, which is low on animal protein, just a little bit of fish, but mostly plant protein and plant based. And I do intermittent fasting as well. So yeah, less meals than. No, too high in sugar.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my basic diet.
All I care about is that you come up with something for acid reflux for me.
That disappears immediately if you go on the diet I'm on. It goes away. Yeah, I used to have that problem too, and it's gone. Yeah.
I'm going to have all my meals with Calvin from now on.
Yeah.
Well, we actually are both vegetarian. I wish we could be vegan, but here in Oklahoma, it's very hard to get the certain things to be full vegan. But I mean, we actually try and do plant-based 100%.
Well, I'm kind of vegetarian with fish.
Yeah, pescatarian.
Yeah.
Mostly vegetarian and just a little bit of fish. Well, actually, that's not even true. I actually do put a little bit of red meat in periodically as well, because sometimes my iron's a bit low.
Oh, that's yes.
Makes sense. If we had a fresh ocean nearby, I'd be
Yeah.
all over the fish as well.
Yeah, you don't want to trust the stuff that comes in here to Oklahoma. We're centrally
Yes.
located.
I've
So what's
never
it like? Go ahead.
been to Oklahoma. I'd like to go there one day.
We would love to have you. You can stand on a rock and see the entire state. It's that flat.
Well, when I was born, you could see your dog running away for 3 days
Oh my God.
in Saskatchewan.
That's funny.
I'd feel right at home there.
Good. I like that. So what's it like living in Antigua?
Just unbelievable. It's low crime, peaceful people. It's English. The legal system's the same one I'm used to in Canada because it's part of the British system. And well, the weather is the same pretty much all year round. I mean, they do have a hurricane season, but a hurricane really only hits there once every 10 years, so it's not that big a deal, really. The hurricane season I actually quite like. The weather's quite nice, mostly.
So does everybody know you there? You walk
Yeah.
down the street, Calvin.
Yeah. It's like that a little bit, yeah. It's small. It's not that big, right? So, yeah. Yeah, actually, they still call me Bodog there when people yell out Bodog when I go by. Pretty funny. I'll never leave that one behind, right? That name.
That's awesome.
You're stuck.
Yeah. And in fact, for me, I think my last question, I say that and I usually have 5 more. But going back, not specifically Bodog, but your business career, what advice in general would you give somebody that wants to be the next Calvin Ayre?
If you're going to start a business because you think it's going to make money, but you don't like the industry, it's going to be painful. I think I would advise people to find an industry that they're naturally attracted to because it's going to be a lot of work. And if you're doing work that in an area that you like, it doesn't feel like work. But if you're doing an industry you don't like, it's torture. So, and it's going to be a lot of work. So you're going to have to, be able to do it for a long time. So finding something you like I think that's the secret right there.
That's a tough one too, because most of the people, I mean, even I struggle with being in close to 40, and I'm like, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? So that's toughy.
It is tough. I agree.
It really is. Making a career watching television is difficult.
Cool.
Any questions? Oh, I want to know, have you ever gotten your IQ tested?
No. I don't
No.
do that in Canada.
Wow. As smart as you have succeeded in sound, we were curious as far as how high that IQ would be.
My opinion about IQs, though, and I don't know a whole lot about it. Like I said, they don't really do that in Canada, to my knowledge, at least not where I lived. But it kind of seems to me, running into so many different kinds of people, is that intelligence is it's not one thing. It's like more than one thing. Like I know people that are super smart at some stuff and then really bad at other stuff. And I think my skill is that I'm kind of balanced. So I can kind of do a number of things kind of good. But I always hire people that are way smarter than me in all the things that are, you know what I mean? Like I don't consider myself a specialist. I'm kind of a generalist. I surround myself with specialists. I'm very active in social media, mostly Twitter, but also Facebook and the LinkedIn, because I see part of what I have to do is educate people about what I'm doing with Bitcoin. So that's an easy way for people to follow me. All my social media accounts are my name, Calvin Ayre, so it's easy to find. And I have a website that you can go to from my Wikipedia page. Actually, just look me up at Wikipedia. You can find anything there.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
It has your diet and everything I can follow, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't talk much about my wellness stuff yet. That's coming. But the rest of it's all out there. Yeah, for sure.
We will be excited to learn that, so that way I can learn what I can eat nowadays.
Oh yeah.
So we'll.
Air.
Yes. Right now I can eat air. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep following you, and I hope that you enjoy your self-quarantine in beautiful Panama while we suffer here in Oklahoma.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
So now we can say we've actually talked to a billionaire.
Yes. And he didn't seem like he was a billionaire as far as his big head. So, I mean, that's nice. He didn't talk us over to the point of making me feel like I'm small.
Even though you're 5'1",
Yeah.
you're not small. But
I am small.
But he didn't make you feel that way.
My brain isn't small.
No, or your attitude. That was neat just to see his mindset on do something you enjoy. You hear that so many times, but when someone is that successful and he's telling you do something you enjoy because you're going to be working like crazy at it, it hits home a little more than somebody who's failed at 50 businesses and says, do something you enjoy, fail at 50 businesses.
That's true. Well, again, you don't want to be on your deathbed and say, I wish I would have done that. So, and I like his spin on health. I mean, it seems like he really does care about people and their health in the environment. It's pretty refreshing that someone with so much money, which to me, when you have money, you have power, influencing people in a positive way is great. I'm so happy that he's doing that because we need people like that.
Me
too. On our side.
Yeah, he's very well balanced. I like that he's giving back, of course, utilizing his skill set and his resources to do that. Yeah. And to me, it's impressive. He grew up on a pig farm and he doesn't really eat meat. So good for you, Calvin.
Yes, I wonder if the pig farm was to eat meat.
No, the pigs helped farm the vegetables. That's what it was. It wasn't to eat the pigs, I'm sure.
I hate it when they say your pig ran away. Because that's not what happened. I believed it for so many years.
Pigs are not that fast. Not that fast at all. But that's what they told you, right?
But they're smart.
That is right. Maybe they didn't run away.
They snuck away in the middle of the night.
That's a better way to put it. So
my pig Petunia.
She snuck away. That's what happened.
Snuck away.
I hope you guys enjoyed the story of Petunia and hearing Calvin and what he's up to with Bitcoin and someday with his health program, which I'll be very personally interested in.
Although if you didn't actually understand him trying to explain Bitcoin, I didn't either. I still didn't understand it.
I told him to talk to me like I was 5. I was this close to say, okay, talk to me like I'm 3. That's how smart he is. But that's impressive because it's a whole virtual world and he's helping build it.
Yes.
Really impressive. We will definitely be following his next successes. And I hope you all follow us next week. Everywhere podcasts are downloaded as well as YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe. We'll have a brand new guest to entertain you next week on My Big Break Almost.